upperclassmen, juniors and seniors, play your open A. Everyone else join in, not too loud. Mezzo piano, mezzo forte, not too loud. If you need some help, raise your bow or your hand. Okay, let's do the next one. Concert orchestra, play a D for us. And everyone else join in? Go ahead. Great. Next one, let's have concert orchestra again, G. And everyone else join in? So far, so good. So far, 3 for 3. Here we go, C string. Go ahead, everyone, C string. Who's got a C string? Including our bass over here with a C string. We got a high school bass with a C string. I hear some rumblings down in the C string range. Is everything okay? Thumbs up or hands in the air or bow in the air if you need some help. Somebody's got a C string back in the back there. Okay. So we'll come back and make sure somebody gets to you in a minute. Let's go ahead and E string and then we'll come back and get them. Okay. Everyone E strings if you haven't already, yeah. Great. If you had any strings that you're a little worried about, raise your hand. Myself, Mr. Lopez, over there who's working on the sixth grade, in the sixth grade section can help you out with that. Or even an upperclassman. Thank you. And feel free to practice quietly while we wait for our last, like 2 minutes or 30 seconds. Good evening, everyone. I think it's 7 o'clock. Oh, it's actually 04. We better start. Okay. I'm Mr. Watson. I'm the orchestra director here at Coon Rapids High School, and I want to welcome you to Coon Rapids High School, both our current Cardinals and our future Cardinals. We're very excited to have you all here to join in and celebrate the music that we're all worked so hard to develop and work on this year. It's always exciting to see the progression from where we started to where they are. Many of these students will be graduating in about 45 days, if you can believe it. So it's not that many days left here. 45 school days, I think, not the calendar. Yeah, but anyway, getting close. And so, and many of them remember the songs, and when I ask them to play them in class, they could play the songs they played in 6th grade. It leaves a deep mark, a positive mark in their lives. So I know it's very exciting to be able to see these and sort of relive and revisit those things as we end our school year here, getting close, about a month and a half left. So, without saying any more, I just want to say a quick reminder that if you do need to get up for any reason, it's a super short concert, so you probably won't. But if you do, the risers do make a lot of noise, so if you could wait and do it like during applause and things like that, so that we don't disrupt the musicians. Again, thank you all for being here and supporting these students. I'm going to let the 6th grade take it with Miss Akebu. Thank you. So while they're doing a quick switch, we usually switch first violins around. Sometimes we do that over here. We just ended up with 2 pieces with the first violin in the same groups this concert. But we do try to switch up so they're playing different parts. The next piece we're going to be playing for you, just a little background, called Black Sea. It's one of 2 of the pieces you're going to hear tonight that we did on our Chicago trip. We just finished a trip to Chicago over spring break. We take trips about every 2 years. I'm excited about our next trip. It's to Disney in the Caribbean. So I'm looking forward to that in 2 years, in 2027. So, all right. We do a lot of things around here. That's one of the many fun things we get to do. So. Be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that this is only the 2nd symphonic orchestra in the history of Coon Rapids High School that got a superior at contests. So they got that just last week on Thursday with a 37, which is a really high score too. Give them a round of applause, yeah. So, yeah. So they also got a superior contest for that. I don't know. They did okay. But no, they also took that to Chicago and played that in Chicago. One of the cool things, too, I want to mention is the piece that you just heard was composed by a Coon Rapids High School alumni. Granted, he graduated in 1999 before I started here. But anyway, he teaches in Iowa and has taught there for many, many years. So that's a piece by Josh Resnikow. He was a bass player in our orchestra, and you can hear that bass part really rumbling down there. So he's really enjoyed the basses in that piece. So it's sort of cool. We have a huge legacy here at Coon Rapids High School of really strong excellence in our music department, not just in band, not just in orchestra, but also in band and choir here. Just last year, we went and performed at the State Music Teachers Convention, one of just a handful of schools that are selected to do that. We did a combined piece that we all worked on, plus our own programs for that event. And it was the second year in a row that Coon Rapids High School Orchestra had been presented at the state convention. We also have 2 members of our all-state orchestra in our bass section here and in our violin section. So we have all-state members as well, yeah. So I'm so excited that your students have started that journey if you're in 6th grade, or that you continued that journey if you're in 7th and 8th grade, or any of the groups. And I hope that you continue to be a part of the excellence that is the Coon Rapids High School Music Department program. It comes from a lot of people. I'm really thankful for my principal and administrators here, Mr. Thompson, as well as Mr. Pena, and many of the other administrators and my colleagues here that make this possible. My middle school colleague who makes this possible, and Sarlanis, who is here for many years as well, who made made this excellence possible as well. They're all a part of that formula that make this what it is. We've got one more song for you to celebrate what brings us all together, the Ode to Joy. Oh, and I forgot to mention, thank you also to CTN who videotapes a lot of our concerts. Big round of applause for them to being here tonight. Thank you for that. Can't thank you all enough, parents, for the support, providing these instruments, providing the support, getting them here to these concerts, and the many things you do. Thank you. Have a great evening. And thank you, students, for all your work helping set up and clean up. Hint, hint, hint. Okay, thank you.